All right, welcome into a bonus edition of I Said What I Said as we discuss the top five running backs in the NFL. I'm the host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co host, Tyson Gentry. If you missed our top five quarterbacks episode, go back and listen to it on Spotify. Go ahead and check it out on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share just so you can always stay up to date with what we're doing. But Tyson, I'm pumped to go through these running backs today. And we were very simpatico on the quarterbacks. This is going to get a little crazy, I think, on these different ones. So I think we're going to have some fun today.
This might be I haven't seen your list. You know mine, just so we could get it in the show notes and everything. I haven't seen Brad, so I'm excited to be taken aback a little bit. But from what you're making it sound like, this might be the biggest disagreement we've had in, 10 years of doing this stuff with each other.
Yeah. I think so, especially at the end here. So let's go ahead and jump into it because we both do have the same number five. And for both of us, it is Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants. And I'll let you take this one, and we'll just kind of dive from there.
Well, he's the hardest person to rank, I think, in this whole thing. Like, he has a home in the top five for me. Like, even when he's not crushing the world, it's really tough to evaluate Saquon, I think, compared to his peers, because it's almost Christian McCaffrey and Carolina-esque in that he is the offense. Like, we talk about Daniel Jones made this huge jump and all this stuff. Saquon was healthy. Saquon was getting the ball out of the backfield on swing routes and things like that, really making DJ's life easier, and it's shown by his average depth of target. I think if you just take a look at that, it doesn't take a genius to kind of do some of those things. This dude can do literally everything on a football field. Unfortunately, I think that the injury gods just kind of robbed us of potentially an all-time great career. Like, when he hit the ground as a rookie, it was like, oh, this is this kid's league. It's going to be like that for a long time. But he's been banged up. As long as Saquon Barkley's healthy, I think he'll shoot up the list for me. But this is he's just really hard to place here because we're still kind of waiting for it a little bit. It feels like this dude's supposed to get 2,000 yards someday. He's supposed to be a 2,000-yard all-around guy with 15 touchdowns combined rushing and through the air, and we just haven't been able to see it, and it's kind of due to things outside his control.
Well, last year he ran for 1,312 yards, 10 touchdowns. He added some threat out of the backfield with 338 receiving yards. He did that with those rushing yards on 295 attempts.
It's elite.
So below 300. So it's a really good 4.4 yards per carry. When he's been healthy, he's never had under 1,000 yards. But that's the thing. When healthy, like, he has to stay healthy, and that's been his bugaboo for the past couple years. Most 100-plus yards from scrimmage by a rookie, 12. And he also is tied for the most 50-plus yards touchdowns by a rookie with Randy Moss, with 5 of them. So that just goes to show how explosive of an athlete this kid really is. It's just the fact, like I said, the injury's going to take away from him. Like, we saw last year what he can do when healthy. The offensive line, it's gotten much better there in New York. Is that going to help him? It should, right? He's going to have less contact at the line of scrimmage or behind it, like he dealt with for a couple years there when he was recovering from injury. So I think we could be looking forward on Saquon Barkley and potentially saying, I think the Giants made a mistake by not giving him a big extension when they could. Instead, if he continues to perform well, he may be putting up different numbers for a different team.
So I'm hoping that he performs well because it's going to be insane drama when he gets to tag again next year.
Let's get into your number 4, Tyson. Number 4 on your list, which I can't believe that this guy is this low, especially for you.
This is my man here, but it's Derrick Henry for the audio listeners. We got the picture of that freak on the screen right now. So it's a mixture of what they've done over the last couple of years. That's kind of the way we're looking at it. And then this is more so projections going into next season. Eventually, man, the wheels have to fall off this guy. Like, I am so certain that there was never been a human being like Derrick Henry to play football. So I don't know when that cliff comes, but I think that when the cliff comes for Derrick Henry, it's going to be really steep. And we saw it a little bit as he worked his way back from that injury. And last year, it looked like he wasn't cutting as well, things like that. All that said, there is one play in football that only one team can run, and that's turn around, give the ball to 22, and get the hell out the way. And the Titans have ran that play to the playoffs basically by itself. Tannehill had obviously a couple really good stretches, but it wasn't like sustained. The sustained thing in Tennessee is I can give the ball to Derrick Henry 340 times a year. He's going to give me 1,500 yards. He's a better pass catcher out of the backfield than he's ever gotten credit for. And I think that was pretty evident last season when they had nobody else to catch the ball. Like, to start the year, Derrick Henry was getting 7 targets a game. And we were all like, what? I think he's probably, to me, like the second best pure running back in the league. Loves to meet people in the hole, all that stuff. I would love to put this guy higher, Brad. I really would. But I just, like, the age cliff comes for everybody at running back, and it's unforgiving. And I think this is the last year that we're going to see, like, true full-strength Derrick Henry. And it's evident, like, they take Tyjae Spears in the third. This isn't the third round for running backs isn't really a throwaway spot, especially in this draft. You have 2 that go in the first, Zach Charbonnet, very end of the second, and then you go into A-Chain, Kendre Miller, Tyjae Spears, and it's kind of like they have an eye on the future. And if the Titans are thinking about it that way, I figure I might as well too.
Yeah, and they took Hassan Haskins the previous season as well. And so, they potentially are trying to load up at least in case that cliff does come. But my number 4 on the list, Tyson, it's Jonathan Taylor. I mean, the dude's a flat-out stud, and he's in the news for some drama right now with, wanting to get an extension. What's new for running backs? That's just, that's a whole thing. When the guy's on the field, man, he is a complete stud. Like in 2021, he led the league in rush yards, rushing touchdowns, rushing yards per game, yards from scrimmage, and total touchdowns. Like, he was an absolute freak in 2021, and then last year he was hurt. He almost still put up 1,000 yards. He put up 861 in way fewer games with only 192 attempts on the year, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. So the offensive line gets much more improved. I think they'll be more physical this year. I think he's poised to have a big breakout year. But if you ever want to know how good this guy is when he came into the league, he was the youngest player ever with 2,000 scrimmage yards and 20-plus touchdowns in a single season, which is damn good. A one-time All-Pro from his 2021 season.
He stunk for the first 8 weeks of his career. Like, people were scratching their heads like, oh, maybe Jonathan Taylor's not so good. And now I think they were wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he is just a flat-out stud, man. I mean, so whatever you think about the other stuff with what's going on there, with guys on the football field, when he's healthy, he is a great football player. Now, let's get into your number 3, Tyson, because this is where we start to differ a little bit on where some of these guys fall.
Yeah, so I went with Nick Chubb at number 3, and I do want to point out it might look like Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor are pretty notable omissions on my end here, but this, again, is a projection towards next year, and I'm kind of trying to brace myself that these 2 guys might not be on the field nearly as much or nearly as motivated as in years past, and everybody loves Nick Chubb. PFF just put him as the number 1 running back in the league, which I think if you're going from a pure running back standpoint, I don't even really know if it's arguable. Like, Nick Chubb is just – he's unreal. And I think this year people are going to find out that Nick Chubb is a better catcher of the football, a better pass blocker than he's ever gotten credit for, because that's never been his role. Like, when Kareem Hunt was at – check out Nick Chubb's target share in games that he plays when Kareem Hunt played and when games that he didn't or he played when Kareem Hunt didn't. He's the guy they want to use. And are you afraid of Jerome Ford taking touches away from Nick Chubb? I don't think so. This is a guy, you want a 40-yard pop play? Got it. You want somebody on the 5-yard line? I think Nick Chubb might be, if he's not the most trustworthy guy in the league, he's up there for getting the ball in the end zone. But just time puncher, like, just comes in, punches the clock at 9, works his ass off till 5, gets out of there, and you never hear about him in the news, any of that. I think that if Nick Chubb was a little bit more vocal and a little bit louder, we might have Nick Chubb as a Hall of Famer discussion. I think people forget this dude exists.
Wow. Well, my number 3 is Christian McCaffrey. And the dude is probably the best catch and running threat that we've had since Marshall Faulk. Like, the dude is just a stud when it comes to what he can do with like a dual threat. Like, we talk about 3-and-D guys in basketball, or, people can play both ends of the floor on offense and defense. McCaffrey's that same way. Like, he can line up in the slot and actually be a good slot receiver. Like, he can run through the tackles. Like, it's incredible. Last year, 244 attempts rushing, 1,139 yards, 85 receptions for 741 receiving yards. He's had 100-plus receptions twice in his career. He's the only running back to ever do that, and he had the most receptions by a running back ever with 116 in a season, 1,000 yards from scrimmage in 4 out of his 6 years. 2 of them that he didn't reach that number. He was hurt. and he's got the third most scrimmage yards in a single season in NFL history with 2,392, which came in 2019. So it just shows you how electric this guy is. Now, the reason why he's not higher on my list is mainly due to the injury concerns. Like it feels like it's starting to be. Now, last year was an anomaly for what the past couple years have been. But when this guy's healthy, he's really good. It's just when he's healthy, like we always say that, is there going to be a nagging hamstring thing that pops up? Is there going to be a pulled calf? Is there a rib thing? And then now you're in San Francisco. Everybody's hurt over there. It's a walking infirmary. So can we really expect that Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy for all 17 or even for 14 games, let's say? So because that's the main question I have with Christian McCaffrey. Now, Tyson, you're in a similar situation with me. You love Christian McCaffrey. You actually have him ranked one slot higher.
One slot higher, and I went back and forth on where to put him. He's another one that's just really hard to rank because we picture this guy as, he's running Texas routes out the backfield, he's catching passes, and he's not elite at any one thing when it comes to running the ball. Christian McCaffrey will run between the tackles like a mug, man. I mean, if you go back in the wild card or the divisional round, that was a conference championship last year. It's been a long day against the Philadelphia Eagles. He went 1 on 11, it seemed like, in that touchdown run to kind of get the Niners back in the game before everything went to shit with Josh Johnson having to come in and things like that. This dude is maybe the most electric player I've ever really had the privilege to watch. He was in Carolina for so long that it almost felt like, because running backs don't control the game the way a quarterback does or an edge rusher, things like that. It's really hard for Christian McCaffrey to be a game breaker without having the ball in his hands. He's in a perfect spot. I think that we learned last year that this experiment is going to work. It's unfortunate, like you mentioned, that Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert and Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason and all these guys that have come through over the last couple of years have ended up hurt. But I don't know. I think that it's a double negative thing. I think Christian might cancel out. You get the most injured guy in that room, and all of a sudden he's fine. There's nothing he doesn't do well. And the only reason I don't have him at 1 is because I might be irrationally high on my next guy, but I'm pretty confident in that too.
Well, moving into my number 2, I got to give it to the king, man. Like Derrick Henry, for me, I thought we were going to have a bigger argument because I got him too low. And then I see you putting him at 4, and that's your guy. I'm shocked by that. And you say, okay, let's project maybe a fall off the cliff type of thing for Henry. Now, we thought that was happening when he's coming back from his injury. Well, Tyson, the only thing he did last season was lead the league in attempts for the 3rd time in his career, put up 1,538 rushing yards, which was 2nd in the league. He had 13 on the ground, touchdowns on the ground. And like you said, he improved his pass catching. Like he became a little bit more dynamic out of the backfield, which is something that he hasn't shown. Like the most targets, receptions, and receiving yards he's ever had with 33 receptions and 398 receiving yards. Like I think he's the most dominant rusher in the league when you look at, okay, who's a bell cow? Let me go and turn around and hand this baby off to somebody. Like go and get me yards. He's that guy, man. Like he's a power forward coming down the lane and dunking.
He's insane. He's sick.
He's hard to stop.
But I mean, you said it there though, with the most attempts for the 3rd time in his career. That's where the nerves come in for me as far as projecting towards next season.
I get that, and I think we've been trying to say that. And I think when we looked at it, so he led the league in rush attempts, rush yards, rush touchdowns, and rushing yards per game in back-to-back seasons in 2019 and 2020. And in 2021, it felt like, oh, maybe this is kind of falling off a cliff there. He was hurt, right? Like that was the thing. And then so we're like, well, is this the end of Derrick Henry? And he follows it up with something. So is it more of a cyclical thing where, okay, maybe next year is a little bit of a down year? What's the quarterback play going to look like? Are they going to stack the box a ton? And then it looks like maybe he's mortal again. And let's say Will Levis can play and it opens up the aerial attack. And now you pull less people out of the box. He can put less people in the box. So that's just the way I think about things. But here's the other thing, Tyson, even if we know the defense is going to stack the box, which they will, they knew that in the playoffs when he had 180 plus rush yards in back-to-back games for the first time in NFL history. He knew that, and the defenses knew that when they stacked the box, and he put up 180 plus yards in three straight games for the first time in NFL history. The dude's just a freak, and like you said, I'm just going to enjoy this ride while we can. It feels disrespectful to not have him at number 1 and running back, but I don't know. This next guy that I have is pretty special.
There'll never be another Derrick Henry. I'm confident in saying that. I don't think we'll ever get a guy that looks like that doing what he's doing. But I have a number 1 for you, Brad, and I don't think you like it.
I'm just so perplexed by this. Why don't you go ahead and share with everybody who it is?
The number one running back in the NFL is the highest paid running back in the NFL. Is the number 8 overall pick in this year's draft. It's Bijan Robinson out of Texas. And I understand everybody's at home clutching their pearls. He hasn't played a snap, which is what a point that Brad brought up to me. My counter to that would be most running backs, if you're going to be good, you're going to come in and take it over right away. Like Saquon Barkley going into year 2, Najee Harris going into year 2. You can run down the list. Like, this is the way the position works. This dude is going to come in and I think immediately be a top 7 pure running back in the NFL. Like a Nick Chubb style running. Like, you can hand the ball to this guy and he's going to put up 85 yards a game on 15 totes. You can also line him up as a slot receiver. You can throw him out wide. You can swing him out of the backfield. There is nothing Bijan Robinson can't do. And I am so confident that he is going to be the number 1 running back in the NFL this upcoming season. If you're a fantasy football player, he is my number 1 overall draft pick in fantasy football drafts. He is my number 1 overall draft pick in dynasty fantasy football drafts. This dude is going to completely nuke the running back position. And I understand that sounds crazy. Bijan Robinson is walking into Arthur Smith's offense. They have Kyle Pitts. They have Drake London. They still have Desmond Ridder. And unless Desmond Ridder is making a Jalen Hurts jump, this is going to be an offense that relies on the running game. Tyler Algier is not eating his touches unless it's by design to spell him. Cordero Patterson is not eating his touches unless it's by design to spell him. Caleb Huntley is going to steal touches from Bijan Robinson? I don't think so. This guy might lead the league in total touches. This guy is going to have 2,000 scrimmage yards this season, and he's going to have at least 15 total touchdowns. And we're going to be sitting here next offseason saying, well, Bijan's 1, who's number 2?
Man, see, I just want to apologize to the audience because Tyson gave a compelling case, but I need to apologize for everybody out there because we pride ourselves in not overreacting. We pride ourselves in not having hyperbole on the show, and we pride ourselves in show and then improve.
I've seen it.
No, you've seen it at the Big 12, which we make fun of for being flag football.
We do, but I'm telling you,
that's where I'll push back. Listen, and I agree with you because if it's quarterback and we're like, well, Caleb Williams coming, he's going to be the number 1 quarterback, or this guy's coming in at wide receiver and he's going to be better than Justin Jefferson. Like, we're always like, I don't know, because these guys are pretty special. The running back position is where I'll give it to you.
Wide open.
And a lot of these guys do come in because they're in their prime immediately. I think you're a little bit blinded by your man crush here. Like, I think he's going to be awesome, but I don't think a lot of people are going to say if he has a great season, he's already the best running back in the league. I think we'll pump the brakes a little bit. I think everybody's going to be like, just like Saquon, oh, he was awesome his rookie year. Rookie of the year, great, but there's still some guys probably better than him. We need to see it for more consistency.
I think after Saquon's rookie season, people are sitting on shows just like this saying, I think Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the NFL. And I'm so confident in it, I'll do a 6-pack bet with you.
Okay, perfect. I'll do the 6-pack bet. I think you might have been accidentally listening to New York radio. That might have been where you were. That might have been where you were hearing that. No, all right, 6-pack bet. And what's it going to be? Bijan Robinson most yards from scrimmage?
I think Bijan Robinson leads the league in yards from scrimmage this year. Okay. I think this.
Do I need to pick a guy?
Yeah, I mean, no, you don't have to. Okay. That's the position I'm taking, man.
Beautiful. All right, you got yourself a bet. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me get this train back on the tracks here and talk about the actual best running back in the NFL because he plays in the NFL. That's going to be Nick Chubb.
Gosh, too many touches.
That's going to be Nick Chubb, and he has 1,525 yards last year, 5 yards per carry. He's averaged 5+ yards per carry every single season.
Isn't that crazy? That's what I'm saying. That's why I think that if he was a little louder, we might be having different conversations.
Best pure runner in the league, right? Like you already said that. Like you went through. Like if we want to talk about like the best, what a running back is, hits the hole, knows which hole to hit, knows how to be elusive in the kind of the second level and kind of explode through areas he needs to. I think that is Nick Chubb. He was 4 yards away from having 1,000 rushing yards in every single season that he's played. And that was his rookie year where he got 996. And he didn't play in every single game. And he didn't start every game. So, we're talking about an all-time talent here. And I think he's only getting better. That's the crazy thing. And when we look at this, his quarterback situation has been horrible. At least Derrick Henry's had Ryan Tannehill. And I know people, make fun of Tannehill and think he sucks. Tannehill's better than Baker. Tannehill was better than what Deshaun Watson was last year. But we both expect Watson to take a little bit of a leap forward this next season, and that should alleviate a lot of the pressure on Nick Chubb to be go out and get us yards like now because we're in trouble on offense. So I think Nick Chubb's going to explode next season. And like you said, man, who's going to steal his touches down by the goal line? Because last year was a lot of Kareem Hunt. Like Nick Chubb could lead the league in touchdowns.
He might lead the league in touchdowns, and I think there's a real world where we're looking up next season and going, Nick Chubb had 50 receptions?
Yeah, he hasn't caught the ball out of the backfield a lot. Now, Watson should help that with being in shotgun more.
Well, also, like, when you have Kareem Hunt, who is seemed a little maybe over the hill last season, but when he got there, he's certainly a top 5 pass catching option out of the backfield. Like, you're going to give that guy. My issue with Nick Chubb is, like, I don't know what Stefanski's going to do. Like, I'm a little worried that there's going to be, like, we're going to run the exact same offense and just Jerome Ford gets the receiving work.
Yeah, that could be the case. That could be the case. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our top 5 running backs in the NFL. We hope you guys enjoyed. Who did we miss? Like, are you a big Josh Jacobs fan? Aaron Jones?
My boy Ramondre Stevenson. Were you upset that
Stevenson?
There's a handful, and that's the thing about the running back position. I think receiver is the only one that might be a little bit more crowded around, because we have a solid like 1-2 in the league in receivers, and then there's 10. It's the same thing with running back. Like, you're pretty confident in 3 or 4 of them, but you can go back and forth for a while.
So let us know in the comments. Who did we miss? Who do you want to see? Who's your top 5? Just go ahead and let us know. Best comment. We'll shout it out on our next episode. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and share the show. If you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate it. Go ahead and smash that like button and say subscribe for all of our stuff. And you're listening to this bonus episode on Apple or Spotify, go ahead and send us a comment, rate, review if you haven't, and share it with your friends. We'll be back with our Pac-12 preview. We already did the ACC. So if you're getting ready for college football, go and check that out on our channel. Till next time. Peace.